welcome to another episode of Pink Perspectives, powered by the Pink Table Talk. I'm your host, Dana Johnson, and joining me today is my special guest, Richard Badger. Hi, Richard.
Well, good afternoon, Dana. Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you at the table. I appreciate it. So today's conversation is quite interesting because it will be our first endeavor into discussing men's health and the importance of what it feels like to have gone through and survived cancer, and why it's so important to bring that conversation to the table and make certain that people understand that not only is it something that we need to show the importance from a women and a men's perspective, but also just the relevance of just being able to go out and see your doctor and be open about sharing your personal stories. So we thank you, Richard, for coming to the table and bringing your perspective.
I'm honored to be here, especially to what I've just learned is the inaugural men's health conversation. So definitely honored, more honored than before.
Thank you. So if we can just begin by you sharing a little bit of the backstory of when you discovered that you were diagnosed with cancer.
Definitely. So I was diagnosed with prostate cancer June of 2016. That journey leading me up into the diagnosis was really one that it took me by surprise, in the sense that I had come to grips with trying to own my health. And so in December of 2015, I went and got a physical annual exam, something that I rarely did, but I decided earlier in 2015 that I was going to take control, and that 2016 was going to be the launch into me reclaiming my health. And so, whenever you watch these health shows, these fitness shows, they always have that disclaimer at the beginning of the show, make sure you consult your physician before that language. And so I was like, I'm going to try it. I'm just going to try it. So when I got the physical, my doctor went through everything, and she ultimately told me that I should schedule an appointment with the urologist. So I did that in March of 2016. All this time, though, from January to June, I'm working out every day. I've changed my eating. In March of 2016, I went vegan. March 7th of 2016, I went vegan. Not for any health reasons, just because I had to begin to plateau with the weight loss journey. I was just strolling along. And so June, the first week of June, I had lost 63 pounds. So from January 1 to June, the first week of June, I lost 63 pounds. But then in that same week, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. So it really kind of just knocked me off my square. I'm finally doing everything right, have everything in order. And to catch a blow like that was devastating, to say the least. So I continued to work out. I continued to try to keep an optimistic mind frame. But then in October of 2016, they determined that my cancer was more aggressive. And I think the one thing to note here is that prostate cancer, one, is considered the old man disease, or the old man cancer. And two, is also considered more mild. It's a more mild form of cancer when it comes to how they gauge cancers. And so oftentimes they'll tell men that you likely won't die from prostate cancer. You'll die from something else. And so clearly my prostate didn't get that memo. In June, when I was diagnosed at stage 1. But then in October, they told me that I had started to evolve into stage 2. And there was one area in my prostate that was already leaking into stage 3. So basically, the decision for treatment was decided by everybody that I just need to go get the surgery. So in December of 2016, I went and had the prostatectomy done. And so today I sit here free and clear of a prostate, but most importantly, free and clear of prostate cancer.
Wonderful. You spoke a little bit about just discovering that you had decided that it was time for you to launch into just your own personal health goals and health journey. And I recall back from my experience with Black Girls Do Run and the launch of a mutual friend of ours, G, that he had geared up some things for men as well. Can you speak a little bit about how you went about that journey and just through running, walking, and also a little bit about your habits with eating and how that changed as well?
Yeah, so like in 2000, I think it was 2014, G is a local business owner, Garland Smith. Shouts out to Garland Smith. He's just been an advocate for the community in a multitude of facets. But G decided that, right, exactly. He definitely needs to be at the table. G had came to me, and he had came to a couple of other people and asked if we would be interested in doing kind of a community health and wellness awareness competition. And it was called Grind, Grind. G's run in a new direction. And so it was myself, Luke Monsanto, who now lives in Florida, and Tosha Davis. Tosha Davis is a woman. And so G got the three of us as the trainees. And then he also provided us with trainers. And so the trainers were Steve Hunter, which was Luke Monsanto's trainer, Manan Sabir, who we all are familiar with the Sherman Phoenix and the Juice Kitchen, was Tosha Davis's trainer. And then I had the wonderful and beautiful Portia Carmen, who was my trainer. And so for 6 to 8 weeks, we really just went hard. Matter of fact, I think it was like 3 or 4 months. So I take the weeks back. It's like 3 or 4 months. We all went hard, but each trainer has their own way of training. And so the ultimate goal was who could lose the most body fat percentage in the set period of time. And so we did a beginning weigh-in and measurements, and we did a closing weigh-in and measurements. And Luke Monsanto ended up winning the competition, not by much, but he ended up winning the competition. I lost more weight. Luke lost more body fat. But when it's all said and done, we all end up winning because we all were put on this journey to reclaim our health. And so it was a great opportunity. We had the community completely engaged. Everybody kind of had their own team that they was rooting for. I was team red, Luke was team blue, and Tosha was team black. Okay. Or it might have been reversed. I think Tosha was team black and Luke was team blue, and I know I was team red. But the whole community was galvanized around this effort. And ideally, I would love to see that happen again. I know many people have asked, are we going to do it again? And I know G has not shut that idea down. I know I haven't shut that idea down. I'm definitely down to do whatever it takes for our community to really get back into moving. But there's a lot of organizations right now that are out doing a lot of stuff. Black Women Run, Black Men Run. There's a prostate cancer support group called Men Moving Forward. They work out twice a week. They talk about prostate cancer, health and wellness, diet, nutrition, all those different things. So there's a lot of efforts out there right now that are really pushing health and wellness. So, you know, my hope today is that we can get brothers engaged to be proactive versus reactive. You know, if you don't hear anything from me today, I would say for men, directly to men, if you go to the doctor just for your annual exam, you are saving your life. Because for me, my cancer was detected because I went for an annual exam. Something that I really never do. I never did, shall I say. I do it now religiously. But for men, if we go to the doctor just that once a year to get our annual exam, you very likely can save your life. Because had I not gone, and I'm not an overly religious man. I was telling you this behind the scenes, Dan. I'm not an overly religious man. But I do recognize that God has a certain ability and a certain way that he will lead you down a path that you normally don't go down, but it's for a reason. And like I said, me going to the doctor to do this, check with your physician before you try this stuff, I would have never done that. I've been playing sports and stuff all my life. I've been active all my life. I've been heavy a large portion of my adult life, but I still would have never gone to the physician. This was something that I thought I decided to do, but it turns out God decided for me to do it this way. And that was the reason why. He said, young man, you have cancer in your body. We need you to figure that out. So go see your physician, we're gonna let it be your ego that you think you're doing this on your own. But he had his hand in directing that whole thing, and I'm appreciative for it. And now I make sure that as I engage with brothers, particularly those in my circle, one of the questions that I ask them is, how is your health? Because when it's all said and done, if you ain't here, nothing else matters.
I love it. I love it. And that's a great quote to share as well. In regards to that, you mentioned that your journey now and just, continuing on and spreading the word. Have you noticed that there are men who are coming to you and seeking advice on that level? I know that we're now into 2021 and with everything going on, like within the pandemic and people being more conscious of just their lifestyles and what they eat and what they're doing and things in life. Have you had some of those just behind the scenes conversations with men since your diagnosis?
Without a doubt. I mean, I can give you a couple of examples. One, this is probably the greatest tribute I've ever received. There was a young brother who had turned 40. This is a couple of years ago. He had turned 40 years old. And he inboxed me on social media saying that for his 40th birthday, he went and got a physical, and he had went and got his first ever prostate exam because of my story. Because again, it's called the old man disease, but I was diagnosed at 43 years old. And so like ever since I've been, volunteering with the American Cancer Society and the prostate cancer movement specifically, and my age demographic isn't even reflected in the statistics that they have. The statistics that they have was 45 and up. And the 45 was really targeting African-American men. So like I said, I was diagnosed at 43, so I wasn't even on the statistical chart. So it was an anomaly for me to get diagnosed so young. But what I found out upon my diagnosis was that I knew my father had it. I knew his younger brother had it. My father had an older brother, but he had passed away, so I don't know if he had it or not. But then my mother has 4 brothers. 3 of her 4 brothers from that time to present have been diagnosed with prostate cancer. So whether it's congenital or not, I don't know if prostate cancer is congenital, but what I do know is that I was surrounded by it. And so now I have sons that are going to need to be checked much earlier. And to that end, I'll say that, when we go to the doctor, and this is for everybody, you really have to be your own advocate. I had a doctor, my doctor who gave me the physical December 2015, her name was Dr. Oz. She's moved from Wisconsin and she's now in California, but it was Dr. Osmond, but we called her Dr. Oz. Okay. My doctor before that, he wouldn't check my prostate. He wouldn't give me a prostate exam. He said he'll do it when I was 50 years old. And I told him that my father had it and that his brother had it. He just said, well, that's not something that we do until you're 50 years old.
Even knowing your history.
Even knowing my history. And so he's past tense because, if you're not willing to do what I'm asking you to do, and I'm giving you the history of this, then you don't need to be my doctor. Why am I allowing my insurance company to pay you your salary, if you're not even listening to the customer? I'm the customer here, Exactly. So I would urge individuals, men and women, you have to be your own advocate. If your doctor is not listening to you, or if you feeling like they're doing whatever they want to do in spite of what you're suggesting or what you're saying, get you a new doctor. There's a whole world of doctors out here. Get you a new doctor. They can get fired. They may be professionals and all this stuff, and that's great, but everybody is not for you. And that doctor was not for me. Dr. Oz she was an advocate for me. She listened to what I had to say. We worked together on game plans and strategy, and that's how we moved. And she was the best doctor I've ever experienced. So when she left, I was heartbroken. But I understand, she has a personal life and everything. But my doctor now, I'm probably an asshole patient now because I know what I've had, and I know what I want to continue to have. And so now I really challenge the doctors to step up when they're dealing with me.
No, and that's a great thing because you look at it like it's an education. And as we move forward in life, like you said, we want to be our best advocate. We shop around for everything else. So why not shop around, and make certain that our health is being seen at the best, and highest level of quality of care that we desire. You're constantly paying in, for your insurance premiums. And like I said, you're looking at, when you're out looking for a car, or you're trying to get, the right type of orange juice that your family likes, at the grocery store, all these different things and all these different variables we take into consideration. But when we get to our physician's office, we see it as that 15-minute block of time. You're in, you let them do, the quick examination, and then you're out the door, rather than taking the time to ask the questions and make certain that all the checks are, checked in the box that you've been, kind of struggling with or thinking with when you were, in the waiting room. So it's a pleasure to be able to hear you say as a male, and that you advocated for yourself, and to just get that word out that others should as well. Speaking on that note, when you sat in the doctor's office at that time, and you knew that you were going in for surgery, how did you feel when you had to share the information with your family or those who would be a caregiver for you? As men, I know that it sometimes is seen the other way, because you guys are the protectors and, the providers within the family, but now having to go through this diagnosis, how did you handle that situation with your immediate family?
So I'll answer that in two ways. I'll answer it at time of diagnosis and then at time of surgery. Okay. So at time of diagnosis, I had to go into husband mode and supporter mode and protector mode, because the doctor came into the room, and it was funny because, so like, we're in the room waiting, and we know what we're waiting for. My wife and I were in the room waiting, and we know what we're waiting for. And so what was probably 6 or 7 minutes that he was late, probably felt like 30 minutes to an hour late. And so my wife was getting frustrated. I'm like, just chill. Because I'm still optimistic that this is some garbage. Like, it's just, okay, a bad read or what have you. I'm still very optimistic. But he comes in and he has this book, and it's a thick book. And I don't remember the title of the book, but it had prostate cancer in these big, bold red letters. And my wife, he didn't even say anything. He just walked in the door, and my wife just starts crying. And so now I gotta make sure that she's good, so, and then, he's talking to us, what have you. We leave, we go home. Actually, I had to stop at my job to let them know I wasn't coming back to work that day. The plan was just take a lunch break, go hit this doctor's appointment, and be right back at work. I got to work. I was like, yeah, I need to go home and deal with some things. So on the way home, I'm calling my parents, I'm calling the children, see if they're available to come by the house. And it really was a matter, the initial day of diagnosis was taking care of everybody else, and trying to tell everybody that is important at one time, so I could say it once and be done with it. Because it seems like the more you say it, the more people respond as if you just offered your death to them. Like, I'm dying. And so people don't naturally respond optimistically when you tell them that you have cancer. And I don't think they do it intentional. I just think that's the response. So then, fast forwarding, the day of the surgery, my surgery went phenomenally well. I had a great urologist. His team was brilliant. They were great. They had great bedside manner, very professional. And my wife, we never know what our spouses are capable of until we're tested. My wife was, for lack of a better word, a true champion. I don't know what greater word to give her to describe how she stepped up. But what I do know is that when you take those vows, for better, for worse, through sickness and health, richer for poor, she stepped up like I never thought she could or would, for that matter. And it's not anything that she's done that led me that way. I think we all have a natural skepticism, and almost a natural paranoia that if something happens, people will tend to flee from you. Right. That wasn't my wife. My wife stepped up in every way imaginable. And I'm completely and utterly forever in her debt for that. If there are better words I can use, I can't think of them right now, but she was completely phenomenal.
That's a beautiful thing.
So I'm hats off to Laverne. Greatly appreciative of her being there. And I mean, I'm hoping I wasn't too bad of a patient for her, but yeah, she was there. I mean, she dealt with her tears on the front end, the day of diagnosis. She dealt with that. She dealt with that whole process of going through, but she was there from day one to present. She was there.
Let's talk about after the surgery and how you've, come full circle now.
So at the time, again, in 2016, I was still working out, doing everything I needed to do, but after surgery, you can't work out, can't really do anything. They have you on all these restrictions. And so my restrictions for like 8 weeks. And, it takes 21 days for a habit to kick in. But when you revert back to bad habits or your old habits, it probably takes 2 days. So you start reverting back to these old habits, and all the weight that I had lost previously in the year, I ended up gaining back gradually. So here we are now in 2021. I had gained all that weight back. So I'm back in the gym now. One of the things I didn't tell you, I went and got the weight loss surgery in October of last year.
Okay.
Because I was just like, I started losing weight, but it was so gradual. You can gain weight almost 2 to 3 times faster than you can lose it. And that's regardless of how disciplined you are, And so even though I was on that weight loss track, it was so subtle that I felt like, let's just go and get the surgery. The day that I went in for the surgery, I was 2 pounds over than when I started my weight loss journey in 2016.
Wow.
And so today I don't even get on the scale. I'm a little over 60 pounds down from the day of the surgery that I had in October, and still climbing, but I feel great. I don't necessarily want to encourage people to go and get the weight loss surgery, but what I do want to say is that if you're struggling, talk to your physician, come up with a plan. If surgery ends up being a part of that plan, then go ahead and do it. Because honestly, I was extremely embarrassed for my own self that I felt like the surgery was something that I needed to do. But I would say that I'm glad I got the surgery, and I'm glad I'm on the path and the journey that I'm on right now, because I know I'll be here as my grandchildren grow. As my grandchildren grow, I'll be here with them. I don't plan on having any other bouts of cancer. I'm still very active with the prostate cancer advocacy group here, Men Moving Forward. I'm still very active with them, and passing this word out, sharing this word of, men's health, and make sure you go and get your physical exams at least once a year. I'm always in my son's ear barking at him about going to the doctor, so where I'm at today is I'm very satisfied with my life, and I'm excited about what tomorrow holds. And every day I'm excited about what tomorrow holds.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Just one last thing that we talked about behind the scenes, and I feel like it would be prudent to make certain that we bring it to the forefront, because I'm sure that it's in the back of a lot of men's mind in regards to just losing that stamina, or losing that gumption, or that get up and go, or just that,
that machismo,
bravado.
That
exactly.
bravado. Yes.
Can we just talk a little bit about that? When you heard those words about, having to go into surgery and wondering, how is this going to affect that part of my life?
Oh, that's a very real question and concern. So ultimately what happens, the prostate is part of the reproductive system in a man. And so, oftentimes men won't do something if it's based on the thought that it might impact their sexual performance. I can assure you that being dead has more of an impact on your sexual performance than being alive. That's the first thing. The second thing is, there are so many medical technology is a wonderful thing, and your body in and of itself is a wonderful thing. So for me, I had a vasectomy, 15, 20 years ago. I got a vasectomy. And was fine. Nothing happened with my sexual function. With prostate cancer, like I said, I went and got the prostatectomy. Nothing happened with my sexual function. But what I will say is that that's not something that's automatically guaranteed. Stuff can happen, but they do have treatments and remedies to get you around those issues and concerns. I mean, if you're diagnosed at 80 years old with prostate cancer, you probably already have some sexual challenges anyway. Myself at 40, when I was diagnosed at 43, I'm still kind of in the peak of sexual performing, and the urge and all that stuff. The one thing is you're not going to lose your urge. Your urge is still there. The arousal factor is still there, but as you get older, those things will gradually, start to diminish a little bit. But a lot of it's going to be based on diet. A lot of it's going to be based on exercise, keeping yourself in good health. A lot of it's going to be based on that and not the surgery or any of the treatments themselves. Although it can have, like I said, it can have an effect, but for the most part, they have.
Right.
I mean, you have your Viagra and Cialis, so you have your medications that you can take. They actually have pumps that you can get. They have an actual thing that they could put inside of you, that can help you out. So the advancement of medical technology to make sure that a man is able to maintain his sexual function is phenomenal. There's some quirky things that happen, like the production of sperm is no longer existent when you get the prostatectomy, because that's part of that sexual reproductive function of the prostate. So there's some quirky things that occur, but for the most part, as far as sensation, as far as arousal, as far as performance, all those things remain intact. And then honestly, as I've began to lose weight, and what a lot of men don't realize, if you have a big belly, if you're 40, 50, 60 pounds overweight, for each 25 to 30 pounds you lose, you get like an inch back of your manhood. And so if nothing else, let that be your motivator to lose weight. I'm sure your wife would appreciate it. I'm sure the wives would appreciate that. But it's definitely, I would say that should be a secondary concern versus being able to still be alive and watch your children grow and watch your grandchildren grow. But the performance, haven't had any issues. The arousal, haven't had any issues. Everything is operating at 100%. Probably operating a little bit more than 100% at this point because of the amount of weight I lost and the amount that I work out and things of that nature. My libido is at an all-time high because as you work out and you lose weight, your libido increases. And that's just natural. That's just natural physiological information. So whether you have surgery, cancer or not, the more you work out, the higher your libido is. So work out, get that libido up. Men, go satisfy your wives, and wives, you can satisfy your men, the same way. But for the sake of men, do not allow your paranoia of a myth detract you from going to get a medical exam that will keep you alive. Because, if you're dead, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters.
Well, I thank you for bringing that to light and sharing your perspective, because I'm certain that that's in the back of a lot of men's mind. When they hear those words, you should come in, or we need to, check your prostate, it's almost like a taboo. Or for men who just don't go to the doctor because of that very reason, because they have those conversations, at the cigar bar or on the golf course or at the basketball court, or just, like that's a no-go. But being able to hear it, from someone who's gone through it, such as yourself, and to share your side of the story just, brings it full circle. So I thank you for our candid conversation and appreciate the journey that we've sustained from back in our days with the Milwaukee Urban League to now full circle as adults, and just, being able to bring stories like this to light. So I appreciate
we're grown now.
Grown. And just bringing it all out there. Is there any last thoughts that you'd like to share, or any, quick little plugs that you want to make before we wrap up this conversation?
Definitely. First, thank you, Dana, again for having me on. The last thing I would say is this: men, and I'm talking specifically to the men, old and young, the one thing I urge you to do is to stay alive. And you can stay alive, one, by going to the doctor at least once a year for your annual exam. That's the first thing. The second thing we could do is iron sharpens iron. The brothers that are in your circle, ask them how their health is. We all understand when our wives come and talk to us about going to the doctor, all we hear is yan, 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 yan. I get it. But brothers, iron sharpens iron. If you know that you're going to the doctor, holler at your guy and remind him that he needs to go to the doctor. When you're at the gym, when you're at the bar, when you're at work, when you're at family gatherings, whatever it may be, don't be afraid to talk about health issues when it comes to us. We have a way of having conversations within ourselves as men, though, that will resonate much deeper than our wives seemingly nagging. And I say seemingly because it really is not them nagging. It's them being concerned. We're just hearing it as nagging.
Natural
but it just seems to resonate differently when it's a brother talking to another brother about his health. And so I just want to really urge brothers to start having those conversations amongst themselves, whether you're at the barbershop, the bar, what have you. Start having those conversations because COVID has already taken out enough of us. The police are doing a great job at taking us out as well. Then we got these young knuckleheads out here doing a phenomenal job taking us out. We have to, at some point, love ourselves enough to look out for one another. So I urge each brother out there that hears the sound of my voice right now, and to the women who hear the sound of my voice, please talk to your husband and have him watch this so that he can be assured and reassured that by him talking to his partners, he's doing the right thing. So, and then also know that there are groups out there that will embrace you. Black Men Run, We Black, We Golf, Men Moving Forward. If you've already been diagnosed with prostate cancer, you're looking for a support group. Men Moving Forward is a great way to tap into other brothers who are going through what you're going through. So just realize that you're not on an island. You got Fear Milwaukee, that's a running group. There are all these groups out here who have opened their doors for you to come in and participate with these activities that they have going on. Get your body moving, get your mind moving, get your muscles working, and just live a great life. So I will close with that. And again, thank you, Dana, for having me.
I appreciate your time and thank you for bringing this to the table. Again, I'm your host, Dana Johnson, and this has been another episode of Pink Perspectives powered by the Pink Table Talk. Please make sure that you like, share, and follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. And also take the time to invest and help us within our movement as well by purchasing one of our candles procured specifically for us by Cheyenne Candles. And you will see that on our website, pinktabletalk.org. It's been a pleasure. Bye. The Pink Table Talk will be offering our fabulously scented, custom labeled Pink Table Talk candle. Each one hand poured by Cheyenne Candles as a symbol of continuous support to the causes and awareness of breast cancer. The candle light, we'd like to say, represents an eternal flame that will burn in memory to the lives lost and in commemoration to those who continue the fight with cancer and our never-ending crusade to bring awareness. Proceeds from purchasing go to the building of the Pink Table Talk advocacy and outreach, as well as our ability to support other programs and agencies in kind. Thank you for joining us.